StrayCat74 here. Welcome to my Basement of Solitude. We are going to be playing with fire starters today. Well, actually, making fire starters. Been seeing these on the internet, or at least on YouTube quite a bit frequently. Self-igniting fire starters. This is a strike anywhere match. A piece of paper towel. A lot of people use toilet paper for it. I had a paper towel handy. I didn't feel like walking upstairs. So what I did was I took my strike anywhere match, my little cube of paper towel, and I cut it so that it's just shorter than the length of the shaft. Then you roll it fairly tightly, and you get something like this, but that's not quite enough. So I've got one of these coffee mug warmer upper thingies, a can that used to be spaghetti ring things, and there's a half-pound of Gulf wax, which you can find in the Jello aisle at Walmart for a couple of bucks. You can also pick them up at dollar stores, when and where. So we have this nice and wound up. I usually do the head of the match afterwards so that we can get this to hold. So we take it, dip it in the wax, and roll it a little bit to get it to stay shut. Then we dip the other side. We're going to have to do this a few times. Take you about a minute to do each one. We go back to the other side. Dunk. I blow on them just to get them to cool down a little bit faster. You can see the wax is completely covering the head of the match now. Five or six dips, and we set it aside to cool, and that's one fire starter. When they set, they're fairly resistant. What you would do is you would scrape the wax off the head of the match and then strike on the box, where these are strike anywhere, so you can use the zipper on your pants. I don't have a zipper on my pants at the moment. I'm wearing BDUs, which use buttons, so I can't show you. Now, another variation is the cotton ball and petroleum jelly style. I'm using a generic petroleum jelly, and I'm not showing you the label because I don't want to get sued by anybody. And this is a variation I've done on about half of these. You take your square, and it's a little bit more than an inch. Get you a fingerful of petroleum jelly, and then just work it in. You'll know when it's saturated when the back of the sheet starts to get damp. Now that could be because I'm getting it on my fingers and wiping on the back. I honestly don't know. I don't know that it makes that much of a difference. I know the petroleum jelly burns, and I know that paper towel will burn, and wax will act like a wick. So we line it up at the edge, and anybody who's ever rolled a cigarette before, by hand, just roll it up like that. You don't want to cover up the head of the match. You actually want that to stick out just a little bit, just enough to see the wood around the head of your match. Then pinch it and dunk. And dunk again. A little bit more than half because you want it to overlap. Now that's just 2 dunks. 9 times out of 10, 2 dunks is probably going to be enough. But we want these waterproof as well as highly flammable. Dunk. And dunk. Now this one's almost perfect now. I'm going to dunk it one more time on each side. As you can see, the wax completely covering the tip. And we set that aside. You're going to get wax on your fingers, and it's really not that difficult to peel it back off, especially if you have petroleum jelly on your hands. Now, when melting wax this way, it does take several hours for this little bitty heat pad to warm it up. So I turned this on at about 8 o'clock this morning. It is like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This was melted by noon, so 4 hours for a quarter pound because they come in quarter pound blocks. It comes in a package of 4 of those for a full pound of wax. And I've made 25 or 30 of these. I also have, just off camera, cotton balls. Some of these are dipped in or mixed with petroleum jelly and then dipped in wax. This one was just dipped in wax. I've got a cleaning patch for a rifle dipped in wax, and a couple of other matches here. So, lots of different ways you can do this. The cotton balls, and there's no particular size. I just grabbed cheap cotton balls, and we might as well do one of these while we're at it here, shan't we? This was $1 for 200, so that's 200 fire starters for $1, not including the petroleum jelly and the wax. Now, these are a little bit harder to hang on to, so I'm going to grab a pair of these. Again, take a fingerful of petroleum jelly and just work it in. Now, once it gets a little bit warmer outside, and I can fire up the the cooktop or the fire pit out there, we'll go and test some of these. So here we have a cotton ball soaked in petroleum jelly, and we're going to dip that in the wax. And you actually don't want to let it stay in there too long. You don't want to soak it in too much. Just dunk, pull it out. I'm actually going to need to let that cool a little bit longer. To use this, you would break it open with your fingers, hit it with your favorite fire lighter, fire rod, ferroconium rod, spark lighter, whatever, and these will burn a good couple of few minutes. I've seen videos on YouTube of these things going on for 12 minutes if you have them soaked enough. Usual is probably about 5 minutes, where a regular cotton ball will burn out in 30 seconds to a minute. That's because of the petroleum jelly and the wax. Okay, so dunk. As you can see, I have noisy roommates. Gets a nice coating on there. We're going to change where we grip these, just to get the other end. The idea behind the wax is not only is it a fuel, but it is a sealant to keep it nice and dry. Just in case you get a dunk in the river or get rained on, snowed on, and it melts into your pockets. So we set that aside. And spend a few moments peeling the wax off your needle nose pliers. Now the Gulf wax is a paraffin wax. It can be used for candles, so we know it burns. You can use beeswax if you're a beekeeper and have access to that, or know somebody who's a beekeeper and can get it cheap. Cheap is a good thing. Okay, so there we have it. We've got a couple of few fire starters here. And now, for these, I had a little bit of paper towel left over, so it didn't quite cover all the way. These will probably burn a minute or so less than a full-length one. But these are actually quite hard for the most part. There's a few spots that are soft. I'm actually trying to crush that. It's not working with my left hand. So there we go. And again, come springtime or slightly warmer weather, we will escape from the basement of solitude and go out and play with fire. Fire, fire. Excuse me. Thank you. Be well and prep on.